Alright, for the final part of exercise 2, part 3, we are going to be creating another bouncing ball following arcs, but we're going to use a different technique called a motion tween. The first thing we want to do is, whoops, if that ever happens, you can double click on timeline. Adobe likes to do weird things like that. First thing we want to do is create a new layer above ball 2. We're going to name it ball 3. Make sure that ball 1 and ball 2 are locked and hidden. Make sure that reference layer is also locked. We don't want to move anything on these other layers by mistake. On the ball 3 layer, you're going to draw a new ball. You can either use the brush tool or the circle tool. In this case, I'm going to use the circle tool. Select a color that is different from the other colors that you've done so far. I'm going to use orange. And draw a ball. Anywhere on the stage is fine. Now we have our ball. The next thing we're going to do is right-click, convert to symbol. We're going to name our symbol tween ball. Leave it as a graphic and hit OK. Now we've turned our drawing into a symbol. When you go up to the Properties menu, you can go to the Library menu, which is next to it, and make sure that your tween ball is in there. As long as you have it in this library section, you have correctly created your symbol. Now, we're going to take our symbol, we're going to move it to the correct position. Frame 1, position 1. Now, we're going to select our whole layer, ball 3, or select layers 1 through 18 holding the Shift key, just like we did before. And we're going to create a motion tween. Again, that's right-click, create motion tween. You will know that your motion tween has been created because your frames are going to turn gold. Once you've got your golden frames, anytime that you move a ball on one of these frames, it will create a new keyframe for you. Let's try it out. Let's go to frame 17, that's our last frame, and move our ball to position 17. Now we can see that it's created a line here. I'm going to change the color of my layer so that this line is a little easier to see. Now it's red. We can see that a line has been created here, and it goes from a diamond to another diamond. They're very tiny, but I promise they're there. Now, when we play the animation back, Adobe Animate has filled in all of our missing keyframes automatically. It's just made up what it thinks needs to go in between frames 1 and frame 17 based on where we moved frame 17. When we play it, it just goes straight across. What we want is we want our ball to bounce the same way the other balls have. So what we need to do is give Adobe a few more hints on how we want this to work. Let's go to frame 6 and bring our ball down to position 6. Then let's go to frame 10, bring our ball up to position 10. Frame 13, bring our ball down to position 13. Now I have 5 keyframes, and if I look, it's a little bit better. At least it's bouncing now, but it doesn't look very realistic. Our bounce isn't following the arc. It's making a zigzag, and that doesn't look quite right. The easiest way to fix this is to grab one of these little circles and pull up our curve until it just about matches our arc. It does not have to be perfect. This ball does not have to match up perfectly with the first one. Let's move all 4 of these and boom! Now it bounces along the arc. Now, when I preview my animation, I should have 3 bouncing balls. My blob and my ball 3 should be bouncing together, and my ball 1 should be bouncing separately. Now, this is great, but we don't have our squash and stretch in there. And if I try to change the symbol so that it squashes and stretches the way we did on our other layer, it will change the symbol on all the layers to squash and stretch. And that's not what we want. So, what we're going to do is we're going to convert all of these frames back to frame-by-frame keyframes. And we're going to do this by right-clicking all the frames and going to Convert to Frame-by-Frame Animation. Select Keyframe each frame. Now, Adobe has filled in all of the frames with individual keyframes. And you can go in and adjust each frame the same way that you did in the first exercise so that it is squashed and stretched correctly. I'm just going to turn this guy on his side, stretch him out, squish him down. I don't mind that it doesn't match up here. I just want my squash and stretch to look okay. So we're going to squish this guy, stretch him out. Stretch this one a little bit. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. $10, $11, $12. This one starts to stretch. $13. Remember, you can change the position of this little anchor by grabbing this white circle and bringing it down. That will allow you to squash and stretch things in a specific direction. Change this, stretch him, squish, and stretch. Go back to 5, and you're just going to go through and do the same thing that you did with the first part of the exercise. Adjust each ball so that they match up with the squash and the stretch on the guide. Oop, I missed one. We're going to squash this one and stretch it a little bit. Little bit. There we go. Alright. Perfect. Now when I preview, I've got a nice bouncy ball. Only one thing left to do. Go ahead and lock your ball 3 layer, create a new layer. We're going to name it Floor. And you're going to move that layer in between the reference layer and the ball 1 layer. You're going to go to frame 1, use your rectangle tool, find a color that you haven't used anywhere else, and draw yourself a floor that goes a little bit off the edges. Line it up so it's a little bit overlapping here and here. Now your ball has a floor to bounce on. Make sure that the floor layer has a drawing on each layer, so we can use our auto keyframe button by selecting all of these and hitting auto keyframe. You'll need to change it back from insert blank keyframe to insert keyframe in order for this to work. Alternately, we're going to undo a few times. You can take this first keyframe, right-click, and copy frames. Go to your last keyframe, right-click, and paste frames. Let's see how it looks. Now you have 3 bouncing balls, 2 of them bouncing together, 1 bouncing opposite, and a floor. That is the end of exercise 2.